lighting up the region.
Well, a very, very good morning to you. And it's a Monday. We are getting closer to the end of the month of July. Today happens to be the 29th day into the month in there. But that is already something where I want to take this opportunity to welcome you on board from wherever you're watching us from as we start off the day, as we start off the week as well. And as we also get closer to the end of the month of July in there. But the question also you should be asking yourself this early morning is, how? And what do you want to do in the coming month? Because this month is partially, I must say, it's done. And that's where we need to turn our focus to the next month in there now. This is where, if I told you laid the beginning, the plans at the beginning of the year, I must tell you, we are still remaining with about 5 months also really in there. But now, and the question you should be still planning on is, how are you going to be tackling the remaining months of the year in there? Is that also that important question? Because if you don't ask yourself so, trust me, you are not going to be doing anything very, very much important. And that is where I want to take this opportunity now to welcome you on board and say good morning to West Nile. And this is already where we want to welcome you on board from West Nile, where you're in Arua City, our headquarters. And I want to take this opportunity now to welcome you in a special way and say welcome to the KOKOLIRIKO live show, because it could be your very first time to watch the show for the first time in there. And that's why I'm saying this is also the KOKOLIRIKO live show that comes your ways every Mondays to Fridays. And on Mondays, like this, we summarize the entire discussions over the weekend. And I must tell you, it was a busy week over the weekend, where we did see so many things happening in the world of politics, in the world of economic transformation, in the world of religion. We are able to see a number of activities ranging from what we call fundraisings, ordinations. And in politics, we are able to see the Forum for Democratic Change Party also really launching its new online mass exercise in Arua City, where we're able to see a number of leaders coming from wherever they are coming from, others from the national executive, others within from the different parts of the region and also the nation in there, who are here to also make sure that they boost the party's grassroots support. And that I will be talking to you later on about that. But as we get moving on the show, remember, so many issues going to happen, and we now want to begin over the discussions right away with what happens in faith, and where we're able to see at least 12 deacons and 3 priests being ordained, that is under Arua Catholic Diocese. And I must tell you, this is something I must say was quite interesting, where we were able to see a number of our leaders attending this very, very much a big event in there. And that is something also where I want to tell you, it was quite interesting to see all these activities going on at the DFA, where the 12 priests and the 3 deacons were ordained under Arua Catholic Diocese in a function that happened on 27th of July, which was Saturday. That is in a joyous ceremony that also really attracted hundreds of also the masses, believers and dignitaries. Something I must say was quite interesting, and something we must always also look for, because to be a faith leader is something quite interesting. But today, on a sad note, many people do not want to become clergy. Others think of all the other professions, yet they can choose to serve God. And that's why I'm saying I want to congratulate all these who got ordained in a special way, and say this is actually what we are looking forward to, and something we must always also pray for, because at the end of the day, we want to see many people also really be part of this such engagements, because at the end of the day, this is what we want to see. We want to see people who are going to serve God, because they are doing a tremendous job, and we cannot run away from the fact that the faith-based leaders are actually doing a tremendous job in terms of also really raising a good society. Because issues pertaining some of the bad vices today, I believe, can only be tackled by the faith-based leaders, the traditional leaders and the religious leaders. I believe they are the ones who can actually change the mindset. And let me talk about the issues of corruption today. You will be able to realize and side with me that corruption can only be dealt with through preaching. Because look at the faith-based leaders. I don't want to talk about only what's happening in the Christianity faith. Look at the Muslims. Christians over the weekends on Saturdays and Sundays attract hundreds and hundreds of masses who come in different masses already in there to solely pray in there. And this is already where messages, again, some of the bad practices that today we two are talking about, and we're mostly talking about corruption today. I believe corruption can only be dealt by the faith-based leaders, because many of times people listen to them more than any other leader, and I believe to make sure that people also really run away from the tendencies of corruption can only be also really imparted in the minds of the people through the religious leaders. And I believe this is actually where they need to come out and also really put up a spirited fight against corruption, because corruption today has actually dragged the nation behind. And how can we also deal away with that? That is why we have the national ethical values today that are being developed by the Directorate for Ethics and Integrity, and who are supposed to spearhead that. I believe the religious leaders, and more so those who are just been ordained, have the guts and also must have the tool in terms of also really making sure that the masses desist from tendencies of corruption, because corruption is actually something, I must say, has dragged the nation behind. And today we are living in a world that is very behind, but that is only something which I must say the faith-based leaders, not only these ones who have been ordained, but all must also really come out and continuously talk to the masses about desisting from the vice. Because looking at the ongoing riots, where we are seeing a number of people being arrested as a result of the corruption, definitely we couldn't wait for such activities to come, maybe such moments to come, but rather also just talking through the people about the negative vices of corruption that would also be very, very much important in there. And I believe at the end of the day, that is something that would also really help address and also really make sure that people eliminate and also really live away from the practices of being corrupt in there, because corruption affects us right from our homes. And who are at our homes? The family heads. And where the family heads go to, they have their different religions, unless if you have people who are pagans. But I don't think in Uganda we have pagans. We are all having people, we are all at least subscribing to a religion, either Christianity, either Islam. But we are there. We are somewhere there, I believe. This is where also really the religious leaders of all these religious dominations needed to also really talk to the people about issues of corruption, because corruption can only be dealt with, I believe, through brainwashing. And how can we make sure that people also really get the ideology of the system of corruption? It is only these religious leaders also really that we are talking about, because I believe there's more that they can do. And also that is something also really where we need to also continue with the show as we get to move on with also the other topics in there. But before we get to give that, still talking about the 15 priests who were ordained. This was already in a function that was a bit joyous, a dancing, where we did see prayers, and that was at the Diofe Cathedral in Arua City, in a function that was attended by thousands of the Christians, well-wishers, and I was able to also see some Muslims also already being part of that. Means this is something many people wanted to see, and I believe this is what we need to do. We need to live together, and preaching also of such issues, I believe, at the end of the day, can be able to sort of be of importance. We need to interrelate. We need to be together at the end of the day. If we speak the same language, then development is what awaits as a region. And remember, this week also already, as we are waiting to also be finally connected to the national grid, I believe that is also already where issues of speaking the same language must also already be dealt with in there. And I must tell you now, the reception that this work actually receiving is quite important. And I was also able to see yesterday one of those priests who was ordained also already being also already received also already at his area of leadership with a new gift of a car. This is what we want to see. People must encourage the clergy, and also giving them such gifts is actually what will encourage many people into also joining the leadership in there. And I believe that is something also which was quite good. And I was able to also see for democratic change leaders already able to also attend the first mass of one of the leaders. And this is actually something I must say we need to always pray for. We need to also wish also that such activities happen, because all these are now going to be serving God. The ones who are already old will also already be allowed to also go and rest in there, and that's all where we need to also see the new leaders, the new clergy also coming out to also support doing what work of God in there. Now, Bishop Sabino Chano-Doki, the Bishop Ordinary of Arua Catholic Diocese, in his remarks, urged the newly ordained to maintain closeness to God through communication also with prayer and sacraments, and closeness to Bishop fellow priests and people of God. And that's something also which I feel I need to keep you reminded of, because if at all we are not going to be doing that, then definitely at the end of the day, we are going to be seeing so many people also lingering behind. At the end of the day, they're not going to be doing their work very well. And I believe also that close relationship with the other leaders is quite important. And that would also improve on service delivery, because what they're doing is service delivery, and we cannot run away from it. That is only where they need to support government in doing other activities. And talking about the other activities today, the parish development model and several of these government initiatives are there, and who are to make sure the people understand the messages in these programs. I believe the religious leaders, through the flocks of the people they lead, definitely that is something that is quite important. And at the end of the day, that would also really address the matters that we are talking about in. And Bishop also channel looking for that appeal to the Christians to continue supporting the newly ordained priests as they begin their work of priesthood also in their communities in there. And this is actually the message that I really feel is quite important. Without the support of the people they are going to lead, then definitely at the end of the day, these are not going to be doing their work very well. But I must say, from the kind of reception that I was able to see over the weekend, also via the various media platforms, I must tell you, it looks like the masses have actually accepted them very well. And we are saying this shouldn't only stop now as these people are beginning their work. We must continuously give them the support. At the end of the day, that will also help address the concerns in there. Honorable Obiga Mario Kanya, the State Minister for Lands, Housing and Urban Development, also in his interview with the press, urged the church to join hands also together with the government to promote the welfare of the people by promoting income-generating activities, that is to fight against poverty in the country in there. And that is something also which I feel earlier on where I was able to also say that these people need to support the several government initiatives also in there. Today, government has a number of government poverty eradication programs that also really there to be supported, because once these people fight the programs, trust me, these programs are going to be failing. But I must say these religious leaders also really have the mandate in doing so, and that is where I'm going to be leaving that discussion aside. And I want to say once again, congratulations to the newly ordained priests, and now we also really going to be looking forward to also really working with them. And we also need to see that they do their work without any hardships, and we must create them the viable environment so that so really they can be able to do their works without necessarily also really facing a number of challenges in there. And I feel that is where I need to also leave that discussion aside. And now let's jet into Gulu briefly, where Gulu district CDOs and sub-county chiefs already are facing risk of PDM arrest. And remember, parish development model is actually one of the government poverty eradication programs that is actually running now, and that's also to help the masses move out of poverty. But many of the places are not also yielding the intended purpose of this government giving this money. But how do we make sure that government does not put this money into waste? And how do we make sure that people really utilize the money that government is actually giving them to make sure they move out of poverty? And that is something I must say is quite important, and we feel must also really be dealt with in there. Now the Deputy National Coordinator for Parish Development Model, Jovrin Kalisa, vows to arrest non-performing community development officers and sub-county chiefs already of their laziness in failing PDM, which the President of Uganda considers as the last bullet, that is to shoot that is poverty out of Uganda. Now, who are supposed to do that? It means that also the parish development models who are not also really performing their duties. I really want to appeal this shouldn't also really happen to those in Gulu alone, but all across the entire the country, because many times there are some people who sit on their duties only to think that it is enough for them to keep warming their seats in those offices, thinking that the money they are going to be getting is actually just for them to be eating like that. And I feel this is something also really where at the end of the day must also really be given keen interest, because the parish development model, just like the other government poverty eradication programs, I must maybe also let you know of, shouldn't fail. Because looking at the different government initiatives, many of them have actually failed. Look at the Bonaga Wale, look at the Ntandikwa, the youth livelihood, all of them are to yield the intended purpose yet. And now we have the Myoga and parish development model, which are actually running, and where the government of Uganda believes this could actually be the last magic bullet to also really that's kicking out the poverty out of this country in there. But how can we make sure that this yields the intended purpose also already in there? And that is something also already at the end of the day where we are going to be seeing poverty moving out of the country. And I feel that is something also already which is quite possible. I really want to ask and implore the rest of the people, masses out there, to support government in also already utilizing this intended purpose of the money in there. And that's where we are saying the parish development model and the sub-county chiefs and the other government officials who are responsible for making the success of this program also already do their needful also need their intended purpose in there. Because at the end of the day, if they're going to be sitting on duty, the masses who are the intended beneficiaries may not be able to solely get the monies and also utilize the money. That's why the issue of financial literacy is quite important, and continuously talking to the masses and reminding them of what the money is supposed to be doing is actually very much paramount in here. And I feel at the end of the day, that would help address the concerns of these government programs in there. And that's where I want to also ask you now to support government in doing also the intended purpose of this money. And now, despite blaming the slow network in Wendy, a money transfer solely application used by the government officials to transfer money from bank to group circles, now the group members, that's solely via phones. Kalisha was also shocked to learn that some parishes in Blue District have not uploaded the names of their beneficiaries in the PDM database since April, when the district received 4 billion shillings in the first quarter in there. Could this be intentional, or could it be out of negligence? This is where now these people need to answer before this lady in there, because at the end of the day, that is where we need to make sure that the money government is giving actually gets the intended purpose in there, because many of times people give out the monies but necessarily also not utilizing and also reminding of what this money is supposed to be doing. And you as the viewer, have you received the money? This is where I also want to ask you now. Did you receive the money? Do you think you're vulnerable? Do you think you're poor? But did you receive the money? That's also where we need to check on ourselves, because many times government keeps on giving out money is worth billions and billions, but many people are also claiming that they don't get the money. And who are the ones who have gotten the money, and what have they done exactly with the money is something also I feel we need to follow up. And if you got the money, what have you done with it? Have you maybe done the needful with the money? That is quite important. If at all you not also do the needful with the money, we are saying this is a revolving fund. Put it in mind, it's not the money for campaigns as many of you think. It is money government is giving. It's government money, not also the politics money in here, but it's rather government money which we must make sure that we utilize properly, because it's a government program to make sure that poverty is kicked out of the country. And once you get the money and use it for marrying, once you get the money you use it for buying mattresses, once you get the money and use it for doing other dubious activities, and then that's quite unfortunate, because at the end of the day you are not going to be realizing the purpose of for which government gave you this money in there. And that is one thing also really I feel at the end of the day I need to keep you reminded of as we get to move on with the show. And now let's leave that aside. Let's look at what's happening elsewhere. That's in Bongi, where the Bongi MPs are also already asking the government to also already bring power in the district. It's another story that we are seeing on the past morning. Remember, from today, anytime we are going to be seeing also the leaders of this country inspecting and also really commissioning and finally connecting West Nile sub-region, that is the national power grid in there. And I believe this must also come with a source of excitement, because many people have actually waited for this. But how do we make sure that West Nile sub-region is actually connected? Because many of times our leaders have been singing the same song, that we are lagging behind as a region because we don't have power. We have been lagging behind. Our region is not having factories because we don't have power. And now we are going to be seeing the region finally connected to the national grid. And that is something also really where I believe we are going to be seeing also really a number of activities and a number of opportunities which may also really come with it in there. But now, how ready are you as a citizen of some of the region? This is where I also need to ask you now, because the power may be coming, but as a citizen of the region, you are not ready. How ready are you to also really utilize the power in there? Because we are seeing today government rolling out several programs. First of all, connecting households to electricity, but many have not yet utilized that. And that's sort of where I want to ask the government, first of all, to make the process a bit cheaper. And also really the cost of maybe electricity should also really be lessened, because they're looking at the environment fight. Many people are now going to be forced to leave also really from doing the practice of charcoal burning, because looking at the region, many of us have been depending on charcoal and firewood. That is for solely fuel energy in there. And I believe with the final connection to the national grid, this should also be something we must be talking to the masses all about. And that's solely something at the end of the day I feel people of Bongi, as they look forward to be connected, people of Arua City should also really start practicing and also really planning to leave charcoal for electricity, for cooking, for doing other activities in there, because charcoal and firewood also really have also caused what we call the climate change in the region. And the country today, many parts of the world are actually suffering from the devastating impact of the climate change we are talking about in here. But how do we make sure that come in the few days we also really embrace the electricity energy in there for other activities is quite important. And I believe as the region will be connected to the national grid, we must start tightening up our belt to leave charcoal and also really embrace the alternatives. For those who may not also really be interested in using electricity, I am saying gas would actually be another source of energy that we must also really embrace and also take advantage of, because at the end of the day we are saying charcoal has also caused a lot of harm. Much as we need it for cooking, as much as we are saying it is cheap, it's not cheap, and that's sort of something at the end of the day I feel we need to also really advocate for those who are into that business. Government needs to come up with programs that can also really make sure that they also change their mindset, because at the end of the day somebody is going to be asking you, I've been doing charcoal for the entire life. I've been doing this, I've been burning charcoal to make sure that I survive. Now, where am I going to be going? What exactly should I do? These are questions only somebody out there is going to be asking. But how do we make sure that people embrace alternatives? We are saying government needs to come up. Much as we are saying this has been happening, now we also going to be looking forward to that. And now, also, as we talk about also forests, government of Uganda is actually also planning to evict, as we have already started seeing evictions carrying out. And recently we did see in Luigi, and now other areas have also really been warned, and the rural city has not been either spared out of this. And now people living along the banks of River Enyau, and this is actually one of the wetlands that has been very much encroached on. And now government of Uganda and also to the leadership of our rural city is actually also planning to also make sure that people who are settled on these wetlands must also live in there. Now also we see the President, His Excellency Yoweri Museveni, recently in his national address, he actually said those who are living within the wetlands are not going to be compensated, and their only compensation is to make sure that they live without also really being fined. In that means that if you are told you are settled on the wetlands, when the time of evictions comes, you are not going to be compensated. But how do you make sure that those people who are also settling on wetlands, who are doing other activities, also live in a way that this does not affect the environment? Because looking at the environment today, one of those concerns has actually been wetland encroachment and forest encroachment. But how do we make sure that these two does not also really impact on the economy negatively in there? And that is where I'm going to be leaving the discussion aside with, as we get in for our first commercial break. And it's a Monday, and in case you're just joining us right now, welcome aboard. It could be also really a reason as to why you are just joining us right now. And we are here to keep you informed and updated of what's happening in the world of news, in the world of current affairs, and also in what is happening within your societies. Stay tuned as we bounce back shortly. My name is Farish Majid.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region. West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
The Miss Uganda 2024 Grand Finale is here! 28 finalists, one crown. On Saturday, 3rd of August at 8 p.m. Sheraton Hotel. True Ugandan beauty will be spiced up with glamour and entertainment from the legendary Maddox Sematimba, the popular Abe Kabad and Jackie Chandiru. The show will broadcast live exclusively on Makula Chika on Star Times at 8 p.m. Come, let's celebrate Ugandan beauty. Sponsored by VNA, Alemzed, Comform, Nanjing Hotel, Kira Motors, Sheraton, Uganda Airlines, and lead sponsors Dress Textiles and You Home. Miss Uganda 2024, True Ugandan Beauty.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region. West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
The Miss Uganda 2024 Grand Finale is here! 28 finalists, one crown. On Saturday, 3rd of August at 8 p.m. Sheraton Hotel. Two Ugandan beauty will be spiced up with glamour and entertainment from the legendary Maddox Sematimba, the popular Abe Kabad and Jackie Chandiru. The show will broadcast live exclusively on Makula Chika on Star Times at 8 p.m. Come, let's celebrate Ugandan beauty. Sponsored by VNA, Alemzed, Comform, Nanjing Hotel, Kira Motors, Sheraton, Uganda Airlines, and lead sponsors Dress Textiles and U Home. Miss Uganda 2024, True Ugandan Beauty.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Alright, welcome back from that short commercial break. We are back with the KOKOLIRIKO live show, the first edition for this week, and it's a Monday, and today happens to be the 29th day into the month of July, and we are getting closer to the end of the month. And I must say, this could also already be as a source of inspiration and a source of excellent excitement to you, and that the month is ending, but I must inform you that very soon we shall be seeing the year also already coming to an end, and this should also already be a source of worry or a source of excitement to you, because many times many people already want the year to end, because they feel certain things already are there for them, and more so those people who are having their marriages towards the end of the year. I must say right now, many of them are actually longing also for the month also to come to an end in there, and more so the women. But the men, it's coming with a lot of pressure, and I was able to already move in some of the functions over the weekend. Benson has joined us. Benson, good morning.
Good morning, my brother Farsi Majid. Good morning, the viewer. Not forgetting, in fact, everyone who's catching us from any part of the world. You know, West Nile television is not only television for the people in West Nile region. I can say West Nile television is actual for all the viewers we have in all over the world. Farsi, truly, there were so many things which happened over the weekend. I was able to visit some of the schools. Of course, I was that side of Munigal Senior Secondary School where they actually had their school day celebration. But they have inserted a project. We'll be talking about that. And also yesterday, which was actually Sunday, the last day of the week, we are at St. Philip's Church, Arua, where actually they had fundraising and so many things we are going to discuss, and also not forgetting about the highlights of what continues to happen in the world of sports. Otherwise, you are most welcome as a viewer.
Okay, talking about what is happening in the world of sports, Benson must be saddened because one of the schools he supports was actually knocked over the weekend in there. But that is not why we're here. I want to say it was a busy weekend where so many things happened. And talking about the different activities that happened over the weekend, we were able to move, as I said earlier on, to also into some of the activities where there was the ordination of the priest. That was on Saturday. And on Saturday, we also did CFDC launching its mass also online detection systems in West Nile sub-region. We are able to also see on Sunday as well, also already St. Philip's doing fundraising. Benson, what was the biggest message this function that you were able to also attend in there? Because I do understand that so many leaders actually came in there and a lot of money was actually raised. What was the feeling like, and how did you see the activities also continuing that's at St. Philip's in there?
Actually, before we commence with the discussion of how things transpired outside of St. Philip's Church, Arua, actually, I've loved the way how you have actually commenced the week. Of course, you know, whenever a week commences like this. It commences with there are a lot of pressures, a lot of beauty always happen. Like this particular, in fact, the week which has just come to an end, so many things actually, like the way you have said, happened over the weekend in politics, in infrastructural development. So many socio-economic things happen. Yeah, truly, yesterday we are that side of St. Philip's Church, Arua, where actually they had a fundraising trying to do something to see that their over 4 billion construction project comes to an end. It went on successfully, though I could not be in a position to reveal the amount which of course was collected in that fundraising. I can confirm to you it went on so successfully. We had so many stakeholders who came in numbers for the fundraising. Actually, the chief guest was the Minister for Land, Urban Development and also Fiscal Planning. I am actually talking about Honorable Minister Dasi Obiga Kanya, plus also other government officials, leaders, and also we saw the Christians masses standing up in numbers. Not only the Christians, we also had our Muslim brothers and sisters coming in support of that St. Philip's Church. You know, this is a church which has stayed for over years, and you know, when we are still teenagers, when the church was constructed, I am talking about the current structure, you know, so only very few people were impressing that's church services. By then, they actually constructed the structure to accommodate a population of 300 Christians. But right now, you look at the number of Christians, masses, yeah, it has grown. Right now, every Sunday, you see that a population of around 3,000, they always go to St. Philip's Church, Arua, for the prayers. Now that structure is not enough to accommodate all the masses for the prayers. That is the reason as to why they now want to construct a new project there, a new church, I should say in Lemasi language, because if you continue to say that a project, someone who's deep from the village may not understand. We're actually talking about construction of a new church for St. Philip's, which is worth 4 billion.
Yes, Benson, by the while growing up, this is one of the churches I used to very much love admiring, because as a child growing up, we used to come at golf ground on big days and we used to play around the church in there. And I must say, actually, for this people to come up with the idea of expanding and putting up several projects is actually the way to go, because definitely at the end of the day, I believe the expansion is also really coming up with its own advantages, which also is going to empower the church, because the church, unlike other places, may not be able to have funding maybe from elsewhere, but such projects would actually generate a lot of money also really for the church in there. And I believe at the end of the day, the 4 billion also really should be raised. And I must say I was quite excited to see many people also really coming up for this activity, where we are able to be joined also by politicians, by the clergy, by the Muslim community, and other members of the business community also really as well being part of that. And that is something which I must say was quite interesting. But the message of also really unity is actually very much paramount. And this is one of the things I felt and also realized that was passed also really at this function here. What can you say about that?
Yeah, exactly. The gospel of unity is always what we continue to preach among the masses. Like you saw what happened yesterday at St. Philip's. We saw our Muslim brothers and sisters coming in numbers in support of the project, and at the same time, you know, the message of also socio-economic transformation was also passed. You know, of late, all over the country, everyone is trying to see that we actually implement socio-economic transformation, and you will see that, you know, implementing socio-economic transformation is not one man's, that's always one lady's work. You know, it's like, let me borrow our RCC's word, it's like working shoulder by shoulder.
Yes.
And we believe that the clergy can also do very well in that sector. I should say generally the religion, the religious leaders can do very well in that sector. So that's what we believe as far as socio-economic transformation is concerned. Like you have just said, the issue of unity is also another thing which we continue to preach. And we also believe that our religious leaders, they are actual experts when it comes to the issue of preaching unity among the masses. Actually, so many things concerning the projects which are at St. Philip's Church, Arua. There are so many projects, yeah, you have said, like we have in a powerful primary and the nursery and the primary school in the names of St. Philip's nursery and the primary school. Right now, you go to St. Philip's, there are so many things which are running, but our emphasis is all about the structure for prayers. right now, what they are trying to come up with, I'm talking about the structure itself. They are not only coming up with a structure for accommodating the Christians. Actually, they are constructing a multi-thing where, of course, you will be seeing so many things, which, of course, may also act as a tourist attraction in the city. So many things are transpiring there. As I talk right now, of course, someone may also want to know the level where the project has reached, or is where the level, the construction has reached. Right now, if you take your time, you visit the new structure at St. Philip's. It's actually it is actually at the slab level.
Getting at the beam level, I think.
Not real. The slab is yet done. Though they have raised just some wall there, but still very far. And the bill of quantity is worth 4 billion. And according to the report we actually got from the COC, the money they have so far used is 1 billion. That means they are looking for that 3 billion Ugandan shillings to see that everything comes to completion. That is the latest we actually got as far as the fundraising concerning the project is concerned.
Okay, Benson, leaving that aside, I want us to talk briefly about what we did see happening over the weekend at Ediofe, where we did see at least 12 deacons and 3 priests also being ordained under a Royal Catholic Diocese. That's something we cannot be able to sort of live out as a Christian. I don't know how you feel about this also the exercise of the ordination of at least the 12 priests and the 12 deacons and the 3 priests sold in a function that was attended by hundreds and millions of the masses sold in there across the entire region, where we're able to see people coming all over from the other parts of the country to also really attend this very, very much important activity. What would be your message to the Christians and also these people who are now being also officially ordained to lead the work of God in there?
First, the fact remains, and also the viewer outside there, the fact remains, it comes with the pleasure. I know that is something everyone desires so much, because having priests, having deacons in your area is something which, of course, will make the members of a particular village, a particular community to smile. You look at the number of the deacons, you look at the number of priests that have ordinated that side of Ediofe. I think it is quite massive. What I can only tell to the priests or the deacons is that, of course, they will have to work in faith. They will have to work in faith to see that they actually nurture our Christians very well when it comes to the issue of faith. Now, to our community members, you know, these things, they don't just come automatic. Of course, you will have to invest. How do you invest? That's through education. When you don't go to school, of course, you cannot be in position to afford.
But Benson, today many people do not want to become clergy. They do not want to become sheikhs. They do not want to become priests. Did you want to become a priest? At one time, did you have a dream of maybe becoming a priest?
You know,
don't say, no, let's go on, let's leave that aside. I know Benson will be answering that some other time. But now, Benson, let's jet into politics, because over the weekend, I must say it was a busy weekend where we were able to move to a number of places. And at Aro Primary School, we were able to see Forum for Democratic Change Party, which many people also said had collapsed. Also saying that they are still there. They came up and also we did see them also launching their new online mass election system that was in a function that was attended by a number of the party supporters at Aro Primary School, where the people were able to pick the leadership that's from the National Nkubi block that is led by Patrick Amuriat Obo Engineer and also Nathan Andala Mafabi also in there, where we did see a number of leaders coming right from the National Executive Board and also the different leaders from the entire region being part of that activity in there. And now, what did you see really with the numbers? Could we say FDC is still strong in Western sub-region? Because at one time we had, and really if I talk about Arua City and then Arua municipality, at one time we had this place led by a Forum for Democratic Change leader. Can you say that? Should we say FDC is still strong?
My bro, talking about FDC, FDC actually is one of the traditional parties, I should say, one of the iconic parties. When we are still teenagers growing, I saw FDC as a real competitor to that NRM. So me, I don't have that perception that it has died. It's still there, floating on the water. And what is happening right now in the parties, recently we had the NUPU also organizing something, FDC in the recent months, they have actually been overlapping, NRM, the iconic one, is not sleeping. And it wants to sound nice if someone says that it has died, because me, I grew knowing that the FDC party is an iconic figure, is an iconic party, yes, and the real competitor to that NRM.
Many people were saying this because others believed Forum for Democratic Change Party is actually kind of retired Dr. Kizza Besigye.
Now, what does this mean to the upcoming election of 2026?
Yes,
all the
things, where we need to
all the things which have been happening in the different parties, NRM, you talk about TNUP, you talk about FDC. This one gives us a clear picture of what is going to happen in 2026. That means expect a real competition ahead of 2026 election, and also expect that beauty as far as 2026 election is concerned. And I've loved the way how, of course, they are alternating their things, coming up with a new system of online mass registration. That means they are trying to come up with a unique strategy to see how actually they can be able to revive their fans, they can be able to revive the party. I think they are coming back. They are coming back with new strategies, new systems. I hope that it will work as being one of the iconic parties. It will be in position to have impact in the upcoming 2026 general election.
Okay, we are following up on that, and now Forum for Democratic Change Party Block was actually here, and they say the whole motive of the new online mass registration system is actually to help them identify their voters, and this is actually going to help them in preventing their votes from being rigged. And we are following up, and we want to see how 2026 will be reaching her, and I believe we are just left with about 16 months. That is to the next general elections, and we're not very far. And looking at about the 16 months, we are saying that this is where we are going to be looking forward to see how the events will be ending in there, and will follow for the Democratic Change Party triumph in West Nile sub-region. Will it also really be that also really West Nile? I will be giving that is to Forum for Democratic Change, because many of them actually said the party had died and had lost its grassroots supports in Western sub-region. I don't know what you want to say, Benson, in relation to this matter.
Now, my bro, you have been observing how things have been happening on the ground as far as these parties are concerned. You talk of NUP, you talk of FD, you talk about FDC, not forgetting about the father. I'm talking about NRM. How are you foreseeing the picture of 2026 general election?
Yes, Benson, we are going to be seeing a tense election. We are going to be seeing this because looking at also really not from the top level, because we may be having a perspective of how the affairs will be happening at the top, where we are keeping a lot of emphasis on the parliamentary and presidential elections. But let's look at what's happening at the grassroots. Already it is getting tense. People already campaigning. We cannot run away from the fact. We are seeing this openly, where in fundraisings, where in the mosques, where in any function, where in marriages, politicians are there. Most of the politicians are today within their areas. They have come closer. What does that show? It tells us that also really 2026 is not very far. It means that the environment we are going to be seeing in 2026 is likely going to be tense, where we are going to be seeing people competing, and also really we are going to be seeing also really those who are not strong, who are likely not to survive in that. It means that those who are not tight, who are not also really preparing for the time, definitely it may also catch up also with them in the, and that's why we're saying 2026 may not be an easy elections, where we already seeing this. And looking at the different presidential elections, we're going to be seeing this also really very, very much happening. And with the conflicts in the other parties, it may also really be of challenge. But we are saying all this is going to be happening in all the parties, because looking at also the different political parties, I wouldn't also want to delve in there. But I must say, if at all, many people are going to be seeing also that happening, because we are going to be seeing vote sharing. Benson, this is something we cannot run away from, because most of the leaders are going to be also pulling their support. And look at the different parties. Look at what's happening within the FDC. Look at what's happening within the NUP. Look at what's happening within the NRM, because right now it's not clear, but other people are saying that the son may also maybe aspire together with the father. Definitely that's something also which is in there. But for now, we are saying the Patriotic League of Uganda is yet a movement, it's not a political party. But most of the political parties in Uganda, of course, have started just like how the PLU has started, and that's how they ended. Look at the NUP. I'll give you an example with NUP. NUP started with what we call the People Power movement in there, but today it is is actually rebranded fully, that's into National Platform Party, and the FDC also really has the same background, and the rest, looking at the DPs and the rest of the political parties, all of them started as movements, and now maybe we could be seeing also 2026 getting tense in there, but we are following up keenly because we are not any far from 2026, and today we are just counting very few months, that is to the next general elections, and this is where, when the right time comes, we shall be able to solely follow it. But Benson, I don't know how you feel and how you anticipate how the elections will be going on in your village, in your area, and this is also where we're seeing politics actively now clearly being manifested.
Yeah, in the previous votes, it has been so interesting, it has been so beautiful. And first, one thing I also want us to talk about is, you know, we are supposed to be the one to feed the viewers with what is happening on the ground. And the viewers, of course, they should not miss what we are giving to them, because without us, they will not know anything. First, you see, like we have just been saying, in our teenage generation, we knew of FDC being a real competitor to that NRM. But I came to realize that in the election of 2021, it was NUP, a new party, which overpowered, silenced that FDC. Now leaving aside NRM party.
Do you know why? Do you know why NUP actually became the leading opposition group in Uganda?
Okay, you tell us.
Many of, actually, through interaction with so many people, actually many people would say they are tired of waiting for the change to come. That is why they feel another person also really should be able to sort of do that. And
okay, are we seeing the change? Are we seeing the change? Where is the changes coming under NUP?
Right now, I should say yes or no, but it's both. Depends on how you are looking at the activities. But now, based on looking at what's happening at the end of the day, if at all, we have to anticipate what is coming in 2026. Benson, I must tell you, it is not easy to predict at the moment. But of course, we are going to be saying, Benson, with the several government programs also coming up, with also the different activities happening in the country, we are likely to see an election where the margin may not be like how it was in 2006. It may be reduced a bit.
Okay, now, Faris, one thing, of course, we want to know from the viewers, I should say, we want to know from us is, of course, our prediction whether NUP will maintain it at the peak as a real competitor to an NRM. Or are you seeing the way they are now doing their things? I'm talking about FDC. Are they coming back to take over back their position from NUP?
We are leaving that entirely to the viewer. If at all you feel that you need to participate in the discussion, feel free to drop your comment in there. The comment section will be later on going through that, and that's where we are giving you a chance to also really share your ideas and thoughts and opinions on what we are discussing this early morning, and that is where we are leaving it entirely to you to also really share your opinion with us, and we are going to be leaving that aside. And now, Benson, students of Alere SS in the Juma district have been urged to embrace unity in their leadership as we summarize the first hour with, and now we want to summarize the discussion right away within Western Sub-Region with also that important call that is for unity in leadership in there.
Yeah, exactly. Unity starts at the teenage stage, and it starts at the school. And you know, if you try to go through the history of these famous leaders, successful leaders we have right now, most of them were actually leaders in their primary schools, in their secondary schools. And of course, you know, there is no success in leadership when there is no unity. When there is unity in leadership, you will always see success, because there is no, you cannot always see one leader always generating everything. There are so many leaders, and for the leaders to register the success, they need to have that unity. How do you implement the unity? It's just all about how you understand yourselves. I think that's a very good initiative being taken by the leaders, the students' body at large, not forgetting about the administrators. If your other stakeholders are there, I see it as a brilliant initiative being taken by the whole school to see that they start embracing unity. I know this one, of course, will help in the development of not only the area, I think the whole country, in case these student leaders may also want to maybe aspire as MPs, maybe in the position of president. I see unity as a key success.
Are you a believer of leadership? Leaders are made right from school. Yeah, looking at this, looking at the different leaders, were they at one time head prefects? And where you head prefects, by the way, I must ask you right now, this is something also really you need to understand. Looking at the UNSAF chairpersons, looking at the mayors, looking at also really the different head prefects, Are they in the top leadership positions today?
Some of them have failed. Some of them have failed. But the fact remains, trust me.
And does it determine maybe if at all you are going to become a leader? Because they're looking at our politics is totally different from that of school, where if you don't have money, Benson, trust me, at the end of the day, it may become difficult for you to sort of be voted in there.
You know, having money to buy votes is different from having knowledge of managing your leadership. Yeah, you might be having money, you may buy the votes and you become a leader, but do you have that brain work of managing yourself as being a leader? You know, that's why I'm saying, if you try to go through the history of most of the successful leaders, most of them have been leaders in their primary schools, in their secondary school. What kind of message are we trying to pass out here? We are trying to say that a good leader, the nurturing begins at the teenage stage. The teenage stage we are talking about is either from the primary or else from the secondary sector. That's where you will grow with the mind of, that good mind of managing your leadership. But if you just go into leadership because you find yourself in leadership because you had the money, you buy the vote, you bought the votes, of course you will fail to manage that position.
Okay. Now, Benson, I want to also ask you this question. Are the prefects that you voted and also really saw in the different secondary and primary levels into leadership today? Because this is something also really where today have failed to trust many of them, and many of them are not into leadership also. I don't know why. I don't know how it is on your side. Maybe you can also tell us why that is happening, because at the end of the day, these are whom we thought would lead us as the mayors, as the MPs, as the LC2 chairpersons, as the LC1 chairpersons, but many of them are able to see anywhere today, and others have chosen to pick other career paths, and for different reasons, they are into other different also career paths, and yet we thought they were actually made.
You know, Pharisee, leadership at school level is different from the leadership at the national level or as at the community level. I mean, leadership at school level is different from leadership at the national level as at community level. Yeah, at school level, you just manage the school, where of course the pressure is not all that much, the brain work is not all that much, but when you have that initiative, when you have that chance of managing maybe a countrywide population or as a community population, it's much different from having that leadership at school level. That is one angle I'm looking forward into. And also the second thing is, you know, there are different sectors of leadership at school level. There are those top leaders and also those minor leaders. You realize that those top leaders, they do a lot compared to the minor leaders. Maybe after school level, they have that feeling, they have that perception that leadership is not all that something which is very interesting. That's why you see they are not aspiring as some of the national leaders, some of the community leaders. I am looking at the two angles as far as leadership for these people are concerned.
Okay, always the saying experience is key, and we are saying to the student leaders who have actually led the schools, let them not sit down and fear leading at community level, at the district level, and at the national level, because they have the experience. Many of times, Benson, we've got people who not also have the experience, and then it becomes so much nagging because people have to start regaining experience afresh, which is something which I must say is very much bad, and I believe that affects service delivery. Don't you think so? We are going to be taking the short commercial break, and we already, that's also already, that will be ushering us into our second hour of the discussions. My name is Farish Majid, and I'm still together with Oracle Benson, and our final destination remains 9 o'clock. And in case you're just joining us right now, welcome aboard and stay tuned as we bounce back shortly.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
The Miss Uganda 2024 Grand Finale is here! 28 finalists, one crown. On Saturday, 3rd of August at 8 p.m. Sheraton Hotel. Two Ugandan beauty will be spiced up with glamour and entertainment from the legendary Maddox Matimba, the popular Abeka Band, and Jackie Chandiru. The show will broadcast live exclusively on Makula Chika on Star Times at 8 p.m. Come, let's celebrate Ugandan beauty. Sponsored by VNA, Alemzed, Comform, Nanjing Hotel, Kira Motors, Sheraton, Uganda Airlines, and lead sponsors Dress Textiles and U Home. Miss Uganda 2024, True Ugandan Beauty.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
All right, 2 minutes after 8 o'clock, you're most welcome back from that short commercial break. In case you're just joining us right now, this is West Nile TV KOKOLIRIKO live show on StarTimes channel 477 and on 0073 on Zuku and online across all our socials where you can be watching us each and every mornings, Mondays to Fridays, right from 7 o'clock until 9 o'clock. And that's certainly where we wanted this opportunity now in a special way to also really keep you informed of what's happening in the world of news, what's happening in the world of current affairs, and as well what is happening within your societies in relation to social life and what's really happening to socio-economic transformation. We are there to keep you updated, and that's already where we are going to be doing this with you. And it being a Monday, we stretch off with our discussions right from Friday, because we are here from Mondays to Fridays, and on a Monday like this, we give you what's happening already and what happened over the weekend, because many of you could not be also knowing what exactly happened over the weekend, and definitely this is where you get the information. And that's certainly where I want this opportunity now in a special way to welcome you aboard from wherever you're watching us from. And you could be watching us within West Nile Sub-region, in Lango, in Acholi, in Karamoja, and the entire northern Uganda. We say thank you so much. In case you're watching us within Western Uganda, we also really welcome you on board. Within those also watching us within Eastern, we are also really saying we do not take it for granted. We welcome you on board in a special way. And now we want to look off and also kick off with discussions right away with what's happening also really in the other parts of the country. But I'm here, I'm not alone. I'm still together with Oracle Benson, Pastor Benson. You're most welcome back from that short commercial break.
Yeah, exactly. We have bounced back, still continuing with the discussion. Pharisee also over the weekend, particularly on Saturday, the 27th of the ongoing month, and the year still remains 2024. I was actually at Mune Girls Senior Secondary School, one of the traditional schools we have in the region, and actually a single school only for girls. Where they actually had the commemoration of their school day.
Before I allow you to continue with discussion, you were at Munigas, and Munigas is a school for ladies. What were you doing there exactly?
They were actually for, you know, I am a journalist. And you know the works of journalists. Okay. Yeah, I think I've answered you.
You do not have any hidden agenda for going there?
No, completely no.
Okay.
Okay, continuing with the business. Actually, they had the commemoration of their school day, the 41st. And they have the OGs of the school. Actually, they have come up with a project of constructing a new self-contained dormitory for A-levelers. And at the same time, they're actually advocating for that socio-economic transformation. That is the reason as to why we actually saying in the other stanzas, the past stanzas, that actually everywhere, all over the country, you see the gospel of socio-economic transformation being preached all over. And actually, they commemorated the day in call for that socio-economic transformation. And at the same time, they are actually calling for advocating for support ahead of the ongoing construction of A-level dormitory, which is worth over 1.7 million Ugandan shillings. That is the latest I got when actually I was with the Muni girls. Farsi, right now you take a look at most of the traditional schools. I'm talking about the structures. When I talk about the structures, I am actually talking about the buildings. You know, sometimes we need to
Benson, talking about the structures of most of the traditional schools, indeed the old schools are looking old. Looking at this, Benson, if you have to move in most of the schools, and this is not only with the secondary schools. Yesterday, over the weekend, I was at my former school. This is a primary school, and one of the blocks that is already there for a long period of time is now looking very old. But who exactly is supposed to be doing that? This is where, Benson, as old boys and old girls of school, we become very much important, and we need to join hands in terms of supporting these schools. Benson, this is something which I must also not run away from, because looking at also these Moni girls, you find that one of the blocks the school started with is still in existence, and it's still also really being used.
True.
But how do you make sure that we give a facelift for such schools is very, very much important, and how do we renovate the buildings? That is where, Benson, it becomes very, very much important. And if you move back, most of the traditional schools are now old.
Exactly.
And this is where we are seeing at least the OBs, and when one of the schools where being that's at St. John's College, but we have seen the OBs joining hands to renovate the blocks of the schools in there. But how and what can the rest of the schools pick a leaf from? Because I believe at the end of the day, these schools are looking the way they are because at least a stakeholder could have neglected and also not doing their duty. But Benson, how do we make sure that these old schools not look as old they are?
The fact remains, if not all, most of these traditional schools, old schools, they have in their old students association. Muni is having, St. Joseph's College Ombati is having. In fact, all of them, including the primary schools, we are not only talking about the secondary schools. And the truth is, the structures are really very old. And it's not only the work, it's not only the role of all the students to see that they actually renovate these schools or else come up with the new blocks or else new structures. I think it's the work or else the role of all the stakeholders. Yeah, what all the students associations may put might not be enough to complete a structure. In case the structure is something which is worth huge amount of money, can they be able to complete it? Yeah, they may complete it, but it will take long. What am I trying to say here? It means we need to work soldier by soldier. We need to work together to see that we actually come up with the structures for these old schools. We renovate them. I've been impressed by some of the few schools. At least you go to a school called Ombadereko Primary School. You go to my former school, Arroy Primary School. You reach there, you may think that that school is these schools are they are institutional schools or as campus schools because of their new looking. They have been renovated, new structures have been put. That means it's not only the work of all the students associations, it's also the work of the government. In fact, every stakeholder, like we have just said, yeah, all the students they may commence a work. You know, they must rely on the contributions from all the students. In case it's not there, of course, obviously the work becomes a standstill.
Okay, we are leaving that aside, Benson, as we are running out of time. Now let's look at other stories happening nationally, where a 40-year-old police detective has been sentenced to 25-year imprisonment for aggravated robbery, contrary to the Ugandan law. Benson, this is a law enforcement officer and is being apprehended for breaking the law. How ironic is this?
Yeah, exactly. You have mentioned the term I wanted to use. That is where hypocritical, ironical it comes. Yeah, you are a leader. You are a law enforcer. You are supposed to be an exemplar. Now, if you are doing the contrary part of it, or what will the rest of the community members, what will the rest of the masses learn out of that? That means not that every law enforcer will always be doing the best.
Okay.
Yeah.
That means we need to also really do what we are to. We must practice what we are preaching. And now on Friday, we did see Kabale High Court Judge Samuel Emokor sentence Sergeant Herbert Aibisiwe alias Chabona after prosecution led by Juliet Najunju approved the case against him. In the state prosecution, told court that during the night of November 26th of 2020, while at Muhabura View Guest House in Bunagana Town Council in Chiro District, the convict and others still at at large robbed Provia Kadusabe of her shillings 50 million. And this is something which I must say is not only happening to this officer alone, and I believe many are out there who are still also really taking advantage of their positions to also really rob the masses in there, because many times we see these complaints that evidence also for their monies which have been got have not been given to them, and that's already theft and that's robbery, something which we must also really condemn in there. Now, during the incident, IBC and the fugitives caused grievous harm on Kadsabe by using a sedative substance on her, and that's already where they robbed her of her money in there. But Benson, how do we make sure that the people who are also really entrusted with protecting the public are the right people? And how can we detect somebody who is well and somebody who does not have a criminal record to also really make sure that we get the right people who are not going to be also taking advantage of the masses instead of also really protecting them? We see them also really stealing them. And how do you make sure that such masses are also recruited maybe to join the different forces in there?
That's why I was saying that as being a law enforcer, you are supposed to be exemplary, and you are doing the opposite part of it. And this one leaves so many people in wonder. As being an officer, if you are involved in such kind of an act, what will the rest of the people think about that sector, that department? Not only you who has already been arrested, what will the rest of the people, rest of the population think about that sector of law enforcing people? I think the sector, of course, is having a lot of work to be done, because the masses, they are relying on you to see that you protect them. On the other side, you are doing the opposite part of it, and robbing something of 50 million Ugandan shillings, I think that is something which is also huge. What I can only say about that saga is, of course, they will have to look for ways of how they can be able to calm such kind of situations. Of course, it's like the son, or is the daughter pinning the mother, or is the father. So they need to reform from that. That's simple, I can say.
Now, after serving the police force for 14 years, the man we are talking about is now pleading for a lesser sentence, saying that he has a children who is 6-year-old that he needs to take care of. Should also the court allow him to also really go take care of the children that we are talking about in here?
If you knew that you are having a kid to take care of, why did you involve yourself into such kind of a nasty saga? I think he's just looking for ways of how these people, they can actually plead with him, forgive him, but that's something which cannot happen. If it had happened maybe with another person, I would say at least the person can be excused to a smaller extent. But you are an officer, you are supposed to act as an example, and you involving yourself into such kind of an act. Now, going back to the point, you know that you have family to take care of. Maybe he stole the money, he robbed the money to take care. Let him go to prison. Now the money, I don't know if he succeeded. Let the money now remain to serve the family.
Benson, now, I really want to say having children to take care of is not a defense, because many times, Benson, these people who are always sentenced come up with ideas. I have family members to take care of, I have my mother to take care of, I have my children to take care of. But the day these people send you to go and do theft, this is something which I must say should never be given also keen interest, because we see this happening. Because recently, Benson, in a defilement case, somebody was saying the same case, that I have children to take care of, allow me to go and take care of the children. But how do we see this happening, and how do we see this continue to go on and with our eyes still kept closed? Because I believe, Benson, at the end of the day, people are going to be calling for less sentence, because they have the rights, that consumer mandate, to also ask for a lesser sentence in there. Because if I thought somebody pleads guilty, that is where sometimes the cases also have to be lessened depending on the judge, so judges ruling in there. But at the end of the day, I feel this is something also really where it becomes quite unfortunate. Because, Benson, for me, really the point is, this man must refund the 50 million also really of this woman, because this money could have been business money, and this 50 million could be also really helping so many people, not only the 6 children that this person is having. What about the people who are depending on business as for this woman here? Let's think about that. Actually, the different families, because the chain usually is long.
Just now I've been thinking that what actually came over that man's mind to see that he has to go to the extent of robbing the woman. Now, I am just thinking that if the law could allow this case to be handled by the masses, how do you think they are going to come up with a judgment on that man?
Okay,
as being a leader, as being a senior officer.
Because, Benson, at the end of the day, we must practice what we are preaching, because at the end of the day you are being paid, you are getting taxpayers' money. Benson, trust me, these people are paid using taxpayers' money to do sole mandate of protecting the citizens, and we are paying you to make sure that you protect us, and it is the same you who is actually robbing us. Then that becomes quite unfortunate. And for me, if I told I was the judge of course, of which I'm not, I will make sure this person is first of all suspended from the force, and then secondly sentenced to life imprisonment, because this will serve as a warning. Because Benson, the duty of police officers is to protect the law and the citizens, and it is the same you who is now sort of breaking the law, and then secondly taking advantage of the citizens instead of also only rushing out to you. If at all we have so many of these people out there, whom are we going to be running to, Benson?
Let me say in summary, you are taking your responsibility plus the gadgets that have been given to you to guide people, to monitor people, to provide security to people, to do the opposite part of it. Yeah.
As we leave that aside, Museveni hails SFC for heeding prioritization advice. He is another student we are seeing on the paper this morning. And now the president, His Excellency Kaguta Museveni, has applauded the Special Forces Command and the entire UPDF for heeding his prioritization method of doing work in there. And speaking during the commissioning of an operation center in Entebbe, named Akandanoho after the chief coordinator of Operation Welfare Creation, that is General Salim Saleh, the president said the prioritization a lot can also be achieved through small resources in there. And now, Benson, remember the Special Forces Command also is part of the security and part of the UPDF also that is there to protect the president and other dignitaries in there. And today, the president is actually thanking them for listening to his advice. Benson, what would you say about this? Because these people have had the president's advice, and what kind of message should this also really serve to the rest of the forces? Because we have the prisons, we have other departments that are in there, but what could this also serve as a warning, maybe as a message to them?
What I know is our president, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, is actually our father, the father of the nation.
And do you accept that he's your grandfather? Because some young people, just a few days ago, were saying that he's not their grandfather.
Yeah, he is my grandfather. Whether him being my father, grandfather, or
he's still
my
our
uncle,
grandfather. He's still our grandfather.
Yeah.
Okay.
What he's doing is also impressive. You know, the sector of security is something, of course, we need to prioritize so much. Not only the state itself and also the homes. Security, I continue to say that it starts with you. It goes to the family members, community members before it spreads its wings to the whole nation. Now, if our father is saying he's appreciating, of course, what people are doing, people listen to his advice, I think it's something which comes with advantage, numerous advantages. And ever since I was born, I'd never seen our security sector or its department going down. They have always been at their peak to see that things go on so well. So President Yoweri Kaguta, His Excellency Museveni, is actually doing a very brilliant work to see that things go on very well as far as the sector of security is concerned. And he cannot do that one alone. He is actually like a commander. I should say he is the overall commander, monitoring how the other sub-commanders are actually doing the work to see that security department is very well. That's actually one thing we are looking forward to. We need to appreciate him so much for the tremendous work he is doing to say that our country is peaceful, everything is okay as far as security is concerned. And that message alone, of course, will also help to motivate the other commanders. Because when you do something and you are appreciated, of course, it gives you more energy. It motivates you more to do better. That's what I can say.
Okay, Benson, that is something which I feel we are leaving that advice aside. Now, Benson, there has been also really a rise in what we call protests also in the country against corruption by a group of young people who call themselves the Gen Zs of Uganda, and these people have actually copied what is happening from Uganda to what they saw in Kenya, and now we are seeing so many people being arrested, and now the rights defenders are also really condemning the infringements on the rights of the people during the protests, with many being arrested. And remember, the Rural City, we didn't also really see how it's happening, but I want also really congratulate the security for also really making sure that we did not see any bad activity happening, because we're not able to also see people being arrested, we're not able to see people being beaten. again. And that's also where we must also give kudos, that's the security forces in there. But now a section of human rights defenders are also really doing what it takes, and also have expressed deep concern over the ongoing human rights violations during the lack of respect for suspects and prisoners, and the controversial merging of the Uganda police force and the UPDF also the forces in there during also really the activities that we are talking about today. What really do you make of the whole activity of the rights defenders saying that this is not right, and the rights, maybe the violation of the post rights is something that is not right, as we are seeing the protests also really moving on. And remember yesterday, one was actually arrested during a church service, and we are still seeing many more arrests being made. Is it right for the young people to come on the streets and also really say enough is enough in terms of fighting corruption? And if not, how can we fight the corruption in the country?
Ever since the movie, the whole saga started, I've been asking myself, is it a right move? Is it under the law? Is it illegal? And has it been authorized? I've been looking at these angles. Yeah, if it is right, they have the right to do it. Is it illegal? If it is illegal, they have the right to do it. Is there any other law which actually allows them to parade like that? If yes, they are doing it. But if they are not doing it in a lawful manner, if they are doing it illegal, if it's not right, I will openly say that they are not doing the right thing. You know, whenever there is a protest, that means something might have gone wrong. But is there evidence? If they are saying that enough is enough when it comes to the saga of corruption, who are the culprits behind the corruption? Have they identified them? Whom are they protesting against? These are the things, of course, you as a youth, you need to, the group of the people, they will first have to understand, they first have to sit down, they have to analyze
so
it.
In other words, what would be your guidance, if at all you are maybe one of the leaders, to make sure that instead of coming on the streets, we do something? What will that thing be?
First of all, to the youths, I think it's not the right time. They need to first calm down. They need to first meet some of the leaders. I don't think every leader is very corrupt. There are some few leaders, or as more, they might have trust. Maybe, let me say, in a particular place, maybe they have identified only 1 or 2 people, leaders, who are very corrupt. But those ones whom they trust, whom they think that they are not corrupt, they can go to them in a legal way, in a legal manner, and also they should also observe the law. They sit down. Things are not happening, so we want to do this. Is it right? Yeah, if they can pave way for them, they can actually continue. But if it just comes from their discuss on maybe a gathering, I think that's where we are going insecure, because mostly demonstrations and the protests, they are not always good, because though sometimes they say that there is peaceful demonstration, but it starts peacefully and then it worsens. Me, I don't see it as a good thing, because at the end,
as the citizens, young people have the right, that is to peaceful demonstrations, but which must be guided by security leaders and operatives in there. And that is where, if at all they have not informed the security, it becomes also really a protest or something that is very bad. But we are saying that is something also that is within the law, and the laws permit people to do so, because the right to peaceful demonstrations is actually a constitutional mandate, but it must be guided by the law and must be done within the law in there. And earlier on,
first, if I may cut you short, and also in form of question, will it yield fruit? Because how it started, the speed at which it started, the rate, it has been calmed down. Will you see success? As far as the demonstrations,
according to my own observations, we are not seeing also really the things moving very bad, but we are able to security also really very, very much on the streets, also really trying to arrest whoever is to come with the placards. That means so really we are not also really saying that it is maybe peaceful, or else it is maybe chaotic, but we are seeing mixed reactions and mixed feelings, I must say, because we are seeing heavy deployments in the streets based on something which we did see in Arua City as well, because in Arua City, this part plan to move from wherever they are moving from, that is to the city hall, also to meet the leaders. But we are saying dialogue is actually the way to go. And now we have seen so many leaders slowly coming up, and the president, remember, recently said those who are planning to hold protests in Uganda are planning to step on fire. And now we are seeing also so many leaders slowly coming out to call for dialogue instead of protests in there. And one of the leaders actually is Honorable Balaam Atenyi, who is the minister in charge of Children and Youth Affairs and the Ministry of Gender and Labor Social Development, and who was actually really appointed recently. And now he actually called for dialogue, where he wanted to meet the young people at Kololo ceremonial grounds, but I believe also really with the ongoing works at the facility, it may not be possible for now. now, but maybe finding an alternative ground would actually be a necessity. And remember, recently one of the government leaders already met the young people, and these are also the leaders. And remember, based on these campaigns, actually moved online via X, where people have their spaces, and issues are discussed in there. But based on really young people already have a mandate, and also I believe the leaders and the government also need to give a listening ear to the concerns of the young people, because the young people are saying corruption has actually affected them, and I believe that would actually be well, but the right channel should be used in terms of expressing their grievances. And where can they also express their grievances? Maybe writing also through also the different leaders could actually be very, very much important. And leaving that aside, now many of the leaders actually also really lamenting on the same, and notable among them is actually Robert Chagulanyi Sentamu, who was also saluted the creatives in protesting against also the corruption in Uganda, and for him is in support. And earlier on we are condemning, but now Bobby Wine is actually also supporting the young one. He said, I want to salute the creatives who have joined the fellow Ugandans, speaking out, mobilizing and taking part in the protest against corruption in and also the misrule in Uganda. That's according to Chagulanyi India. But we're saying that shouldn't be the case. We must use the right channels. We must use the right alternatives. And how can we make sure that we also kick out the corruption out of this country? It starts with me and you. We must avoid the right people who are not also corrupt in there. And this is only where those whom you know are corrupt, do not vote them, and that would also really help address the corruption in parliament, other than us coming out to also really move in the streets. And at the end of the day, this is very bad, because security is saying why they not also really allow people to come on the streets is because of the negative repercussions. Benson, yes, I must also really agree, because in Kenya I was able to see people's property being looted. Don't you think it's right for us to also really desist from what we call protest and demonstrations in the streets?
I want to first flash back to the statement from our president, that's His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, saying that actually these youths, they are pressing that's the red button, they are doing something which is not right. Yeah, fighting corruption, like you have said, is everyone's right, everyone's duty. How are you going to do it is actually one thing we need to first strategize on before actually you take such kind of actions. Is it within the law? Does the law permit you? Have you discussed it, or is it shared the concern with the stakeholders? Is one thing, of course, you need to look into, because you cannot just wake up in the middle of the night or in the morning saying that we are going for demonstration, we are protesting because of corruption. So maybe they have targeted some leaders who are very corrupt, but if you do it in a disorganized way, of course, I know government right now is fighting against corruption. The priority is fighting against corruption, but the way we, the youth, we are trying to uplift the flag to see that we help the situation of corruption is not in a rightful way. What I can say in summary concerning that is we need to utilize the right channels such that we don't, because if this thing continues, trust me, it's going to worsen the security in the country.
Okay, leaving that aside, Benson, as we are just left with 2 minutes, that is to our commercial break, that will be ushering us into the final half of today's discussions. We are going to be leaving that also really with what's happening in the world of protest, because we are saying this is not right way to go in terms of curbing corruption. And now let's have trust, maybe for once, into institutions that are also really that have been established to fight corruption in the country. Benson, we have the IG, we have also really many others that were created, that is to fight corruption, and now we are going to be seeing more being created to fight still the vice of corruption, because the same people are saying that the cancer that has actually eaten our economy the most is corruption, and government loses trillions and trillions of Ugandan shillings that is to corruption every financial year, and that is money that would have gone into also really doing a lot of service delivery to the people in terms of building schools, in terms of building health facilities, in terms of also really building infrastructure. That money is actually being swindled, and that's where the young people are now saying enough is enough, and now we need to end corruption. And I believe government of Uganda is actually doing the right things now in terms of making sure that corruption is kicked out of the country. And that's where we are going to be leaving that discussion aside with, as we head into the last commercial break, and that will also be ushering us into the final half of the discussion.
First, before we go for the break, there is one thing I want to put just in 20 seconds.
Okay.
You know, you have mentioned some of the borders that have been put on the ground, that have been existing to fight corruption. It seems that the borders, they are not doing enough. And now the youths, they are the brain work behind fighting for the fighting corruption. May I am with the suggestion that if possible, we should also the states should also come up with a border which is consisting of
Okay,
youth.
Benson, we are leaving it there and we are heading for this short commercial break. And the viewers, stay tuned as we bounce back shortly with also what's happening in the other parts and also in the other stories. Stay tuned.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
The Miss Uganda 2024 Grand Finale is here! 28 finalists, one crown. On Saturday, 3rd of August at 8 p.m. Sheraton Hotel. True Ugandan beauty will be spiced up with glamour and entertainment from the legendary Maddox Sematimba, the popular Abe Kabad and Jackie Chandiru. The show will broadcast live exclusively on Makula Chika on Star Times at 8 p.m. Come, let's celebrate Ugandan beauty. Sponsored by VNA, Alemzed, Comform, Nanjing Hotel, Kira Motors, Sheraton, Uganda Airlines, and lead sponsors Dress Textiles and U Home. Miss Uganda 2024, True Ugandan Beauty.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
All right, welcome back from the short commercial break and now into the last half of these discussions, and this is where we are going to be also tackling something in the world of sports and also internationally, but that will be coming later on. But now, Benson, as we also already start off with our last topics of the today's discussions, now UECC signs contract for the construction of 9 dams, that is to boost rural access to electricity in the country. And now, Benson, by the way, West Nile sub-region also already will be connected this week, and also that's the national grid. And what are some of the opportunities that you feel with the young people have towards sort of taking advantage of the electricity that is also going to be given the country and also the region also in India? Because many of times our leaders have been demanding this constantly, and that's also where I feel now it's the time actually we are benefiting from that, because many of the regions across, many of the leaders across the entire region have been raising the same issues of electricity at Parliament and also at different forums in there. And I believe it's now time that we are going to be excited. Before we also really get to look at some of the contracts that are being signed as Western Sub-Region, what are some of the opportunities that you feel we, the young people, must start preparing for as we wait for this final connections to the electricity of national grid in there?
Yeah, it's true. It has been a long-awaited thing. People have been yearning for this. Yeah, it's going to come up with the numerous advantages, but not for everyone, but to very few people, I should say. First of all, there are some people who don't have knowledge about it, and it also depends on, of course, what you are doing. Because having electricity doesn't mean that it will benefit everyone. And also, you will not be using the electricity or as utilizing it for free of charge. Much as it is a government-initiated thing. There are minor things, charges, of course, you will have to pay. And also, first, trust me, people always yearn, people always cry for things, but at the end, they misuse them, they misutilize them. Let me give you an example with the PDM, Policy Development Program, which everyone had been yearning for a financial related project from the government. Now it's on the ground. People are misusing. Though not everyone is misusing the fund, but I've seen so many people are misusing. And don't be surprised if this one will only help you. Very few may only benefit out of it, but it will depend on how you are going to use it. Can you be able to afford it? Yeah, government projects are there, but sometimes they don't come for free. But it's something for a longer period of time everyone has been yearning for. What we only have to do is we should make proper utilization of it.
Okay, as leaving that aside, as West Nile, I believe these are actually opportunities we must wait for, because we have been complaining that we do not have factories, and I now believe with the final connectivity to national grid, we are going to be having factories established, and this is also really going to be coming with a lot of opportunities for our young people who are going to be working both in skilled and unskilled labor. That's also in doing the activities. And now to the people who have been also really running saloons, definitely this also really power should also be coming also really for you. And more so today we are talking about skilling centers, where many people are actually coming up with activities and also skills in saloon operations, as barbers, as hairdressers. This is actually the time for you now, because many of you have actually been complaining about that. What about those who have been doing other businesses, for instance, in juice and other activities? This is actually another opportunity for you as well, which we must now start preparing for, because the opportunity that electricity is coming up with is actually one thing we must also take advantage of. Benson, as we get move on, I believe that's actually the way to go. And now the initiative will also be established for local distribution network, where we are going to be seeing still our families connected to electricity, because we are looking at 71,081 households who are to be also that's connected to the power, because today we cannot also really depend on solar or else kerosene, because kerosene today, I don't know if it's working. I don't know when the last time you used kerosene, or what we call paraffin also at your homes, because definitely that's something which we cannot be able to solely use in this era now. And electricity for lighting is actually the way to go, because today government has actually rolled this across different parts of the country. I don't know if at all people are taking advantage of this, because at least there's an area that is to be estimated where you can be able to already have yourself connected to that power in there at a cost that is a bit less than in there, because most of the money is now being paid by government. How do we make sure that the masses take advantage of electricity for doing the activities? Because Benson, really, to tell somebody that also today, to convince an ordinary woman that you can actually use electricity for cooking is difficult, because many of them think that electricity shocks. But how can we make sure that that mindset changes?
Yeah, this is now the work of sensitization, which means we need to now start sensitizing these people. You talk about the ladies, you talk about the youths. Like, yeah, we have been discussing that the electricity is coming, but what kind of people are going to benefit out of this project? You may see that this electricity may not be in position to reach to every household. There are some households that may not be able to benefit out of this project. And that one, of course, will also generate problems. And I don't think that this electricity will be in position to reach deep to the village, deep to the households.
Benson, we are talking about access to electricity for the rural communities. And in Western sub-region, this is being implemented by KOKOLIRIKO, and I believe this is actually something very, very much important. But and really, because if at all the power line reaches your area, then there's that estimated meter where if at all it is within your reach, then you're to be connected. All you need to do is the wiring of the house.
But do you know that there are some people who will still say that everything, of course, will have to be issued for free? You know, once there is something which has been established, there are some people who have that negative perception. Everything, every project which is government related has to be free of charge. Like if you tell a person that now electricity has been established in your area, you need the power, you need the meter. Of course, the person can even start to complain. They can say, I thought this is a government-initiated project. How comes that we're also supposed to be the ones to buy these things? Yeah, you have mentioned some of the business opportunities like saloon work, so many of them. But now, do they have the capital? This is the right time for the youths, or is for any other person who will want to establish the business like saloon, which uses power. You start now collecting your power.
You know, Benson, today most of our households depend on firewood and charcoal for energy. But we could actually use electricity. But many people think, first of all, electricity is expensive. Others think it is risky, because for you to tell your mother, who is deep down the village, that you can actually use electricity for cooking is going to be a tug of war. Okay. Because really look at gas. My mother looks at it as a wastage of money, as a wastage of resources. Okay, because if you compare the price of charcoal to the other alternative source of energy, you realize that many people are wasting a lot of money on charcoal than other sources of electricity.
You have mentioned it all. Now, to someone who is deep from the village, obviously the person cannot use electricity, because you will have to pay something small for you to utilize the electricity. You have got firewood, you have got charcoal. Do you think a woman will also want to maybe pay something of 2,000, maybe 5,000, which she will use for buying maybe foodstuffs, for paying for electricity, while she's having firewood, so maybe charcoal.
Benson, today we are talking about climate change. We cannot run away from the fact of climate change, where it is actually attributed to people cutting down trees. And as the viewer, you must also be siding with me that issues of climate change is actually a reality. But how do we make sure that people protect the trees and embrace electricity for energy?
You see,
how and what message do you have for the ordinary person deep down there who is thinking without charcoal, without firewood, no cooking for them?
That's why I was saying that in one of my points, I was saying that it now needs extensive sensitization of people, because
and can we achieve that in West Nile? If you are to make sure that you maybe think and also reason with the problem.
I look at that one to a smaller extent. You know, people have different perceptions. Like you have just talked about the negativity of electricity. It's just all about sensitizing people about these things. And this project actually has come at the right time. You know, our climate is drastically going in a negative way. Yeah, this could be the right time for us to shift from chopping trees for firewood and now using electricity. But we need to sensitize them. And also the cost at which we are going to access the electric power also matters a lot. If they are going to put maybe a tax which is a little bit high, that's where you will see people still running away and continuing with their traditional things of doing of cooking, using of firewood, using of charcoal, which still will make them to continue chopping trees. What I can say is, just like I've said, it's all about sensitizing the masses on how to use it and the effects, of course, positive effects it will bring as far as climate change is concerned.
Okay, that is where we are going to be leaving the issues of electricity access aside, but I believe many people can actually do a lot when it comes to that issue. And now, Benson, yesterday also, really, I must say, over the weekend, it was tight and busy, where in Mitoma district we were able to also really see the Thanksgiving ceremony that is also really for the speaker, for the deputy speaker's father, where this activity was actually attended by a number of dignitaries, where I was able to see the top politicians, the business community, and the masses also really being attracted to also really be in that district, sorry, for Thanksgiving in there. And also as well, we were able to suddenly see the unveiling of a church that was also really built by Thomas Taebwa, the Deputy Speaker of Parliament in there. And also in this message, and also really where we didn't see this happening, Speaker of Parliament, Right Honorable Anita Among, promised to actually hand over the speakership also really position that is to the deputy in 2031. What do you make of that statement? Do you think it's the right time?
Actually, that is actually what caught my attention in the whole movie. You know, handing power just automatically like that is something which doesn't come easy in most of the countries we have in all over the world. And you know, that position, that sector of speakership is something which has got its own things. I think if it is saying that at the end of her period, she will be in a position to hand over the power in a good way. It will be a good thing. Otherwise, that was actually what caught my attention in the whole saga.
Okay, that is it. Benson, we were able to see a number of people actually gracing this event, and I was able to see Ruakana Rugunda being part of that activity. I was able to see Sudhir Biaruhanga also already as well. Sudhir also already was part of that, and many other people who were also already part of that activity in there, where we talk about the many members of parliament, many business community members. We also already as part of that activity as well, and we must say that is actually the way to go, because as leaders, we must also really make sure that we give back to the society. But one thing that the man talked of, that some people had actually started saying that the money he used for building the church is actually taxpayers' money. But Benson, how do you make sure that when people are giving back to the community, such issues not arise? Because you're doing it for the good of your community, because at the end of the day, Benson, God gave you the chance to also really make sure that at least you benefit, and also really, you also really act on the benefit of the people within your society, because building a church, Benson, is actually the way to go, and is actually something which I must say is quite good. But in most cases, also really when somebody, more so a person who is in those big positions already does something, people come out and also say that they use taxpayers' money. How do you make sure that such issues do not arise?
First of all, what does the tax do? The money we collect, what does it do? What is the use of paying taxes? Is it not to provide services? And what are services? There are so many sectors of services. Health sector is there, education sector is there, and also the religion, the religion or the religious sector is there. And if someone says that he has used the taxpayers' money to construct the church, that is something which is not bad, because that is how, of course, the money which is collected from the taxes are supposed to be utilized. Maybe if he had utilized the money for his personal thing or as for maybe a family thing, yeah, it would have been.
In other words, does God bless corruption money? Anyway, we're leaving that aside, and we're not saying that that money was actually obtained through, but because those are speculations that came out, and many people had actually started saying a lot of things, and he actually confirmed that some people had started saying that he actually used taxpayers' money, but not
for providing a service.
He actually used his own money, and this is an activity that happened in Mitoma, where we're able to see that going on, and I believe those people were there, and now they have their benefit, and now the church will actually serve the locals within the area.
Before we shift our focus away from there, if someone corrupts money from the state and uses the money for constructing a church or as a mosque, I don't see it as a bad thing, because
remember, God prohibits corruption.
What gain will the person have from people attending the prayers?
He's such a money-blessed person. Because in our faith, usually we say that money is haram. Is this the same case? Maybe also really...
Maybe if he had used the money for maybe constructing a hospital, maybe a private school, yeah, we might say that he has gone wrong, because there he will be earning money. But a church, maybe a mosque, I don't see it as a bad thing. Okay,
leaving that aside, at least 250 apprentices have been selected for a 6-month training program that is at the Jinja-based Uganda Hotel and Tourism Training Institute and various hotels to tackle the skills shortage in the hospitality industry in their Benson. This is something where we now see the waitresses and the hotel attendants already being brought closer to also have the skills in terms of customer care, because many times, Benson, you move to some of the hotels, you really wonder where these people were actually picked from. And I believe this is a great concern, because a guest enters, the people are just looking at you. Somebody says welcome, and the person keeps quiet without even a smile, without also really welcoming you, without interacting with you, without asking what you want. The person is quiet. I believe that is already where issues of customer care is actually becoming very much important. And looking at the hotel sector, it is actually under the hospitality sector, which is very much paramount, and this actually plays a great role in terms of attracting customers and foreign exchange, because some of the times we have guests who are also coming from other places, and they come here because of the hotels we're having, but really to have also that kind of maybe reception is usually wrong, and it's not also really impressive. And this is where I believe this shouldn't also really happen to the hotels in Jinja. We also need the same training in Arua City, don't you think so, Benson?
Yeah, you know, every institution has got its brand. I am a brand of West Nile TV, you are a brand of West Nile TV, and you take a look at the hotel attendants. Truly, it has not been happening in a good way. Of course, the impression starts from the looks, or else from the appearance of the hotel attendants, and it's true. Most of these people, they are just picked from anywhere. You see that. Anytime you see that a person is working as a hotel attendant, doesn't know how to dress, the dressing code is down, you look at the... So if they are coming up with the initiative of training them, I think that's something which of course will work out very well. That means we are trying to go out from the traditional generation now to a modern generation. That means everything of course will have to work in accordance to modernity.
Okay, sometimes it goes back, Benson, to the hotel owners who feel that their relatives must work in these hotels, and they're not also giving the chance to the managers to bring whoever is to work in those hotels. And that's where the problem could be coming from, because many times the hotel owners also still have influence. But we are saying that is not very bad, because we need to also empower our own people, but that should also come with the right channels. And we must make sure before these people are employed in the hotels, we take them to such schools, and I believe that would also make sure they get the information and also how to handle customers in there. Because once I move to Hotel Benson and there's no customer care, trust me, I'll never go back to that hotel, because I'm coming to spend on my own money. I'm actually coming to enjoy my own money, and I come because of my own money, and I feel that's that's sort of the way it becomes very much important for such also the hotels to make sure they actually train the people and people who are actually employed are the right ones. And Benson, we are leaving that aside now as we're running out of time. Remember, we're just 10 minutes, and after the 10 minutes, we shall be having the news bulletin Lubarati. But before we get to give that, we still have the international stories that we also need to give forward, and also what's happening in the world of sports. And now, before we get to give you that, Soccer Kingdom and church partner to curb lightning strikes in schools. Benson, many of the times we have seen this also as a concern. Lightning killing children, and when it's raining, we see children standing under trees. And just abruptly and out of the blue, we see lightning striking and killing these young people. How do we make sure that also really we fight the issues of lightning strikes? And now, now we are seeing the Kingdom of Busoga, and also now partnering with church to make sure that this vice is actually kicked out.
You know, the issues to be done with the lightning is something which has been in existence for a longer period of time. It's the role of the stakeholders to see that they actually address the problem, because it's something which is really very strange, I should say. Now, what can we do is another thing we need to look forward. Encouraging the stakeholders to see that they address the matter is the best thing. You know, there are lighting conductors, some of the schools have it, but the fact remains, some of the schools, they don't have the lighting conductors. What am I trying to say? There is a conductor which is always fixed on top of the roof of the block, which always strikes away the lighting. Some of the schools, they are not really having those things. Now my advice is stakeholders, there are so many people who are involved in the basket of stakeholders. They need to look forward to see that in every school there has to be a lighting conductor such that such kind of situations can be calmed down.
Okay, leaving that aside now, Benson, as we are just left with about 9 minutes, and this is also really where I want to summarize with now stories across borders. And now talking about stories across borders, 23 abductees have been rescued in joint UPDF and FADC operation against the ADF. And now the Uganda Post Defense Forces, in collaboration with the armed forces of the Democratic Republic of Congo, have rescued at least 23 individuals from the Allied Democratic Forces during Operation Suja in there. Now the rescue occurred on Thursday near River Malibongo, north of Voso Takomeko in Ituri province of the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. In now, Major Bilal Katamba, the Public Information Officer of the UPDF Mountains Division, in a press statement also released on Saturday, also reported that the joint forces engaged the ADF rebels also before rescuing the abductees, who also include 16 females and 7 also males in there who have now been rescued. And among the 13 are minors, including 3 infants born in the bush who are severely malnourished, according to Major Katamba, who also noted that in the Benson. What do you say about the forces, or in terms of making sure the ADF who have been terrorizing not only DRC but also Uganda as well is also already achieved, because we have seen that also already happening, and now we are seeing at least joint operations. Do you think this will also already attain the intended purpose of bringing peace in the region?
You see, the issue of ADF has been in existence for a longer period of time, and one thing I've been observing is that our security personnel, they are doing a brilliant work to see that they actually calm the situation. And I've loved the spirit whereby the unity, the collaboration, whereby our security personnel, they have actually collaborated with their security personnel from our neighboring country, that's DRC. You know, Uganda with the DRC, they are like brothers and sisters. If they can be in position to collaborate and do the operation together like this, I think they will be in position to calm the situation very fast. And it would have been worse, like if Uganda splits of its own, maybe DRC also splits of its own in the operation. But having that joint operation, I think will be in position to register success. And we have already started seeing the success coming, because rescuing such kind of number is something which is not easy. That means we are doing a great work in terms of security. Okay,
Benson, as we are running out of time may not be able to allow us. And now to summarize the whole discussions of today with what's happening in the world of sports, where we are seeing transfers, not also sparing the Ugandan Premier League as well, and also the different leagues. We are seeing players crossing from one destination to another, and also from one club to another, and which I must say is something good, because we are seeing at least our players also crossing borders as well. And Benson, before we get to see what's happening in the world of transfers, something that also really amazed me is what happened at the Olympics, where a wrong national anthem was sung for South Sudan. Instead, also the one for Sudan was sung in there. Something which did go on at the Olympics. Remember, South Sudan basketball team is actually competing at the Olympics, and something that did anger so many people. What can you really say about that? But because we didn't see the officials coming out to apologize, instead of singing in the national anthem for South Sudan, the one for Sudan was played.
You know, it's something which happens by mistake. There is no one who, of course, will say that for him or her, he or she doesn't do mistakes. It's something, you know, singing national anthem for another country, for another one, it doesn't come automatic. It doesn't come purposely. Maybe they just forgot some few arts there. You know, first speaking about the ongoing Olympics in Paris, yeah, it's going on so well. Though it started with the havoc. You remember the game between Morocco and Argentina, the open ceremony, which registered the chaos. But after that, things have been going on so well. And our neighboring country, South Sudan, we have just been talking about the actual doing very well in basketball. And first, Ugandan transfer is also becoming vivid. Unfortunately, for some of the giant teams, their key players, they're actually leaving them. Recently, we saw Mustafa Chiza, the player for the team of Kasasiro Boys. I'm talking about KCC, also leaving the Kasasiro Boys. And most of the key players for the team of Jogos, I'm talking about Sports Club Villa, who won the 17th title for the team of Sports Club Villa. So many of them, they're also leaving the club. And some of the teams who came closer in winning the title of StarTimes Uganda Premier League, right now they are doing massive recruitments in terms of signing players. And also one bad omen for the team of KCCA is also Abdallah Mubiru leaving the team of Kasasiro Boys just after 18 months. These are the highlights, of course, I feel I need to give you, but the biggest point is all about some of the big match guys, big match names, huge players for some of the big teams in Ugandan football. They're actually leaving. And also dropping that one there, I can also confirm to you, there is one particular team in French League One called Olympique de Marseille. They have become very active in plotting players from English Premier League, and we have seen a number of English Premier League players joining the team of Olympique de Marseille. And recently, actually, they came up with something of around 11.3 million pounds to the team of Liverpool in order to acquire their midfielder Wataru Endo, whom they signed last summer from the team of Stuttgart, and that money has been turned down by Liverpool. Liverpool saying no to that deal. Wataru Endo, the midfielder, is remaining with them. And Olympique de Marseille, they are also talking about so many players. They have been talking about Sancho, but according to the rumor we have got today, Sancho actually has already agreed a deal with the team of Paris Saint-Germain. We are waiting to see if that deal will go through. And Manchester United, they have been talking about also one player from Paris Saint-Germain called Emmanuel Ogate, Uruguayan, and we never know. It may be a kind of a swap deal where you will see Sancho going the other side of Paris, and then you will see Manuel Ogate coming to the team of that Manchester United. But I just want to highlight you with, you know, we are only left with very few days for the new season of English Premier League to commence. Premier League is commencing next week on Friday. And as being a very big fan of football, I need to highlight you with the fixtures. The fixtures are right away with me here. As I had said, Premier League will commence on 16th of August, whereby Manchester United actually will open the campaign of the new season with a home game up against Fulham, and this game will be on a Friday. And then reaching on Saturday, 17th of August, Ipswich Town, one of the newly promoted sides, will take on Liverpool. Meanwhile, Wolves will be taking a trip away to the runners-up of last season, that's Arsenal. Everton will begin the campaign with a home game up against Brighton and Hove Albion. Meanwhile, Southampton, also a newly promoted side, will travel away to Newcastle. Nottingham Forest, meanwhile, will play Bournemouth. And on Saturday, the last game will be between West Ham and Aston Villa. And then on Sunday, 2 games to be played, whereby Brentford will be having a date with Crystal Palace, as the the biggest game in the open week. We'll see Chelsea open the campaign with Manchester City, and the first round will actually be finalized in a Monday Night Football with a game between Leicester City taking on the team of Tottenham Hotspur. And that one brings us to the closer of today's edition of Kokoliriko Morning. So it has been me, Benson Pastore, together with Faris Majid. Let's link up again tomorrow for the same program of Kokoliriko, so also known as Morning Updates. Have the best of your time. Up next is Lubara News with Feta Emmanuel.